morning, ladies and gents. Week 6 of 5. I'm kind of getting lost here. We're still in trig. So this week we're going to start today with looking at reciprocal trigonometric functions, which we already did, but we'll look into it a bit deeper. And then we're going to start working on graphs. Okay? We're also going to have a little assessment halfway through the week, but we can already see the end of this trig business. Okay, so let's start with what we know. I've drawn the triangle. It's the first triangle really I drew for you, which is the fundamental of trig. Okay, so we've got a triangle. Okay, we've got sides A, B, and C. Okay, two sides and hypotenuse, and one angle that I'm working with, alpha. Obviously, also have an angle there, but I'm just going to refer right now to this angle. And I've got the sine, cosine, and tan. Let's try and remember what sine alpha is. Sine alpha is opposite divided by hypotenuse. So in this case, it's A over C. Okay? Cosine is the adjacent over hypotenuse. In this case, B over C. Okay? Very important that you by now should really remember it by heart. If you still have to think about it too much, then you're not going to be able to solve the complex problems of which you're going to see more and more of. Okay, the basic stuff has to be, you have to be able to get it straight away, already now. Tan alpha, opposite divided by adjacent, is A over B. Okay, now we're going to redefine, we did it in the first lesson, but just remind us these three: sec alpha, cosec, give it some more space, cosec alpha, and tan alpha, and cotang alpha. Okay, so three more, trigonometric function we call them. So sec, which sound a little bit like sine, or start with the same letter, is the reciprocal, the inverse of 1 of cosine. So sec is 1 over cosine alpha. Cosine alpha, shouldn't be cosine, it should be cosec. Cosec alpha, which starts like cosine, is exactly 1 over sine alpha. So it's kind of the opposite to what you would think. And cotang is 1 over tan alpha. Okay, so that's what you should also remember by heart. You shouldn't really have to kind of get to work hard on it. It should become eventually, maybe not now, okay? But by next year, it should really be solid in your mind. Now, if cosine alpha is B over C, then 1 over cosine alpha is C over B. Okay? We flip the fraction. Okay? And I'm just going to add to that, and I hope you can see it, you will. C, remembering, is the hypotenuse, and B is the adjacent. Okay? So you can also, I don't tend to remember that. I remember it, sec is equal 1 over cosine. But some of you might want to remember that sec is hypotenuse divided by adjacent. Okay? Cosec, 1 over sine, is A over C, Sine is A over C, so 1 over A over C is the flip, it's C over A, which is the hypotenuse divided by the opposite. Okay? Last thing, cotan is 1 over tan. Tan is A over B. So 1 over tan, we're flipping that fraction, is B over A. And I'm going to write it down here. It's basically your adjacent divided by the opposite. Okay? And just to finish this part of the video, I'm just going to write the equivalent things here. So what is A over C? Maybe I should have started that. It's basically your opposite divided by hypotenuse. B over C is the adjacent divided by hypotenuse. And A over B is opposite divided by adjacent. Okay? So just take a couple minutes, write it down if you want, have a look. You've got everything in page 85, exercise 9. Let's just make sure we understand these relationships. And in the second part of the video, I'm going to start solving some problems. Okay? See you in a bit. Okay, so we're going to start with some examples here. Okay, so this is actually from exercise 9. which you're going to have to work on, finish up what we didn't do. We've got a triangle, right angle triangle, 3, 4, 5, classic 90-degree triangle. We've got to find sec A, cosec, and cotangent A, where the angle A is always, we use a capital letter to show it's an angle. And sometimes we put this little hat. So what is sec A? Okay, I'll use these relationship that I wrote just now. Sec A, sec the angle, is 1 over cosine the angle. Okay? And here it was called alpha, now it's A. So it's 1 over cosine A. Okay? What is cosine A? Okay? Cosine A is the adjacent. Adjacent to what? Adjacent to A. Adjacent over the hypotenuse. So it's going to be 1 over 3 over 5. Now just instead of cosine A, I'll wrote what's the ratio in terms of the sign. And now because I've got 1 over that, we're flipping it. Now this flipping action, if you're not sure how to work with these fractions, please contact me on WhatsApp and I'll explain it to you. If there's enough people that's confused with that, then I'll just do another little video for us. But 1 over 3 over 5, very important that you know that is 5 over 3. Okay? 5 over 3, it flipped. Okay? Cosec A is 1 over sine A. So it's 1 over opposite divided by adjacent, divided by hypotenuse. So 1 over 4 over 5, which is 5 over 4. Flipped again. Cotangent A, okay, is 1 over tan A. And that means it's 1 over opposite divided by adjacent. 4 over 3, and that is 3 over 4. Again, flipped. Okay? So that's your most basic reciprocal functions kind of question. And in the next video, we'll do a little bit more complicated ones.